I'd paid every cent for my first car, signed the papers myself, took the keys with my own hands. That night, my stepfather looked at the fresh plates and said, "You should thank me." Then he ripped the keys from my grip, slammed his fist into my shoulder, and drove away with my car as if all my hard work had never existed. I turned on the front door camera, opened my insurance files, and swore I'd take back everything, including my dignity. My name is Lauren Pierce, and I'd worked 3 years for this moment, standing in the fluorescent glare of Pioneer Motors, watching the sales associate slide 2 keys across the desk. The metallic scrape against laminate sounded like freedom. "Congratulations on your new Accord," she said, tapping the tablet. "I'm showing your down payment cleared, insurance verified under your name only, and here's how to set up the Honda app for remote tracking." The app synced immediately. A blue dot pulsed on my phone screen, my car, my location, my control. I'd saved every overtime hour, every skipped lunch, every freelance project for this. 29 years old and finally untethered from depending on others for rides. The drive to my mother's house took 40 minutes through suburban Ohio's identical strips of chain restaurants and mattress stores. I should have gone straight to my apartment. Should have celebrated with Maya instead. But some naive part of me thought Mom would be proud. Rick's truck squatted in the driveway like a toad. Through the kitchen window, I saw him hunched over his laptop, probably monitoring his fantasy football lineup. Mom appeared at the door before I could knock. "Oh, honey, it's beautiful," she said, but her eyes kept flicking toward the house. Rick materialized behind her, beer in hand. "That the new ride?" He brushed past us, circling the Honda like a predator. "Pop the hood." "It's fine. Rick, the dealer. Registration." Not a question. He held out his hand. Mom's fingers twisted her necklace. "Just show him, Lauren. You know how he is about cars." I handed over the paperwork. His eyes tracked each line, mouth moving slightly as he read. "Says here you're keeping it at an address in Riverside. That your apartment?" "Yes." "Parking spot number. Why do you need insurance card?" Another demand. He studied it, then looked up. "Just you listed as a driver. What if there's an emergency? Family should be on there." "There won't be an emergency." The vein in his temple pulsed the warning sign I'd learned to read at 16 when he'd married Mom. "Car's sitting in my driveway right now. Makes it a household asset. Where's the spare key?" "In my purse. Where it's staying." Mom stepped between us. "Lauren, don't be difficult. We're family." "Family." I laughed, short and bitter. Like when he borrowed my college meal card or when he put Mom's credit card down for his boat rental. Rick's face darkened to that particular shade of red that preceded violence. Not the explosive kind that leaves obvious evidence. Rick was too smart for that. The calculated kind that happened in corners, in moments when Mom conveniently needed something from another room. "Give me the fucking spare," he said quietly. "No." His hand shot out faster than I could react, fingers clamping around my wrist. The twist was practiced, efficient enough to make me gasp, not enough to break anything. With his other hand, he grabbed my purse. "Rick, stop!" The back of his fist caught my shoulder, sending me stumbling against the Honda, my keys scattered across the driveway. He scooped them up with the methodical calm of someone picking up dropped groceries. "You should thank me," he said, jingling my keys. "Teaching you about respect, about family hierarchy." The Honda's engine turned over smooth as silk. He adjusted the mirrors, synced his phone to the Bluetooth, then backed out of the driveway. The taillights disappeared around the corner. Mom stood frozen in the doorway, arms wrapped around herself. "He'll bring it back. He just needs to cool off." "He assaulted me." My voice came out steady despite the trembling in my hands. "He stole my car." "Don't be dramatic. He's your stepfather." I pulled out my phone, swiping to the Ring doorbell app. The entire scene played back in crystal clarity: the grab, the strike, him driving away in my vehicle. I screenshot everything, then opened the Honda app. The blue dot moved steadily toward the interstate. My shoulder throbbed. In the porch light, I could see the beginning of bruising along my wrist, 4 finger marks darkening against pale skin. I photographed everything, each angle, each mark. "Lauren, come inside. We'll sort this out." "No." I called Maya, walking toward the street. "I need you to pick me up, and bring your phone to record. I'm documenting everything." As I waited, I opened a new note file and typed everything I could remember: exact words, times, the sequence of events. The blue dot on my screen stopped moving. He'd parked at a bar 6 miles away. This ended tonight. Maya's headlights swept across Mom's driveway at 9:45 p.m. I climbed in, still cradling my wrist. "Jesus, Lauren, your arm." "Drive, please. I'll explain everything." As we pulled away, my phone buzzed. "Mom, come back. Rick says you misunderstood. He's keeping the car safe until you apologize." I deleted it and opened an older conversation thread, 3 years of carefully archived messages. Evidence I'd started collecting the day I realized Rick wasn't going to change. "Remember my graduation dinner?" I asked Maya. "When Rick made that toast, the one where he took credit for your degree because he provided stability." While Mom nodded along, I scrolled through screenshots. 2 weeks before that, he'd maxed out her credit card at a casino. Guess who covered Mom's mortgage that month? The pattern was all there, documented in text messages and bank transfers. Rick's emergency loan for his truck repair never repaid. The time he needed my social security number for insurance purposes, and opened a credit card I discovered 6 months later. Each incident followed the same script. Rick took what he wanted. Mom enabled it, and I was labeled difficult for objecting. "The fueling card," Maya said suddenly. "That was him too, wasn't it?" I nodded. During junior year, I'd gotten a part-time job at a logistics company that provided fleet fueling cards. Rick had convinced Mom to guilt me into adding him as an authorized user in case of family emergencies. $3,000 in later charges I had to repay to keep my job. The emergency turned out to be his buddy's cross-country move. Mom said I was being selfish. That family helps family. My laugh came out hollow, but it only ever flowed one direction. I pulled up more evidence. The electric bike I'd bought for campus transportation, Rick had demanded a key to the lock for safekeeping. I found it listed on Craigslist 2 months later. The tablet I'd saved for, which disappeared from my room during Thanksgiving break. Mom swore Rick had nothing to do with it, even though I found the pawnshop receipt in his truck. "Why didn't you cut them off?" Maya asked gently. "I tried. Sophomore year, I stopped coming home. Then Mom called crying about Rick leaving her, how she needed me. I came back, and suddenly they were reconciling. Rick promised he'd changed. The blue dot on my phone hadn't moved, still at the bar. He hasn't touched me since I moved out." I continued. "Probably thought he'd lost his leverage. But tonight, seeing something that was entirely mine, that he had no claim to, he couldn't stand it." My phone lit up with a Facebook notification. Rick had posted in the Riverbend community group, trying to teach my stepdaughter about financial responsibility. Took her car keys until she learns respect. This generation thinks they can abandon family once they get successful. The comments were already flowing. Neighbors who knew us, church friends, his poker buddies all reinforcing his narrative. Mom had liked the post. Then came the private messages. Relatives I hadn't heard from in years, lecturing me about gratitude. Mom's sister. "Your stepfather loves you like his own. Stop being a brat." I screenshot everything, adding it to my evidence folder. Maya glanced over at a red light. "This is systematic abuse. Lauren, you know that, right?" "I know. But knowing and doing something about it, I touched the bruises forming on my wrist. He's escalating because I'm succeeding without him. My promotion last month, the car today. He needs to prove he still controls me." Another message from Mom. "Rick says if you apologize publicly on Facebook, he'll discuss returning the car. Don't make this worse." "Discuss." Maya's knuckles whitened on the steering wheel. "It's your property. You have the title, the loan, everything. Rick doesn't operate in reality. He operates in the reality he creates, and Mom reinforces it. I thought about all the teaching moments Rick had manufactured over the years. The time he threw out my laptop before finals because I'd disrespected him by not greeting him when I came home. How Mom had said I should thank him for teaching me about consequences. The pattern was exhausting in its predictability. At Northwind Analytics, I'd built my reputation on identifying patterns in consumer behavior. I could predict market trends, track campaign effectiveness, map customer journeys. But I'd ignored the most obvious pattern in my own life. Rick would always take what was mine, and Mom would always let him. "Not this time," I said aloud. "What? This time I have documentation, video evidence, a clear chain of ownership. He thinks the system will work for him like family does through intimidation and emotional manipulation. But the legal system doesn't care that he married my mother." The blue dot finally moved on my screen. Rick was heading home in my car. "Drop me at my apartment," I told Maya. "I need to file reports tonight while the evidence is fresh." "Lauren, he crossed a line. Theft, assault, fraud with the dealership if he tries to claim ownership. This ends now." The next morning, my Honda app showed the car at Maple & Sons Auto Service. Rick had wasted no time. I called the shop directly. "This is Lauren Pierce. You have my Honda Accord in for service." "Yeah, your father dropped it off at 7:30 a.m. Says he needs a spare key made and wants the full inspection package." "He's not my father, and he doesn't have authorization." "Ma'am, he showed us the registration. Had all the paperwork." My stomach dropped. The registration I'd been forced to show him. "That's my car. The title is in my name only." "Look, we just do what the customer asks. He's already in our system as Richard Halverson, authorized party." I hung up and immediately called my insurance company. After 20 minutes on hold, a representative finally answered. "I need to verify who's listed on my policy," I said. "Let me pull that up." I show Lauren Pierce as primary, and we have a pending addition request for Richard Halverson as secondary driver. Submitted this morning at 8:15 a.m. I didn't authorize that. The request came through our mobile app using your login credentials. Rick must have synced his phone to my car's system last night, potentially capturing my saved passwords. I changed everything immediately: insurance, banking, email, the Honda app, but the damage was spreading. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "Saw your stepdad's post. You should be ashamed. He raised you." Then another, "Ungrateful bitch. Rick's a good man." The Facebook post had gone viral in our community. I logged in to find myself tagged in dozens of comments. Rick had updated his status, had to take the car to get it serviced since she won't maintain it properly. Still trying to teach responsibility. Some kids never learn gratitude. Mom had commented, "We just want what's best for her." 3 coworkers had already messaged me about it. The post had been shared to the Northwind Analytics community page by someone who recognized me in the family photos Rick had added. I called Maya. "He's building a narrative, making me look unstable before I can file charges." "Have you called the police?" "Going there now?" The Riverbend Police Department smelled like burnt coffee and industrial disinfectant. Officer Callahan took my initial report with professional detachment, typing slowly. "So your stepfather took your vehicle. Stole?" "He stole it after assaulting me." "But he's family." "That doesn't make it legal. I have video evidence from the doorbell camera, photos of injuries, and proof of ownership." Callahan's expression remained neutral. "We'll need to investigate. These family disputes can be complicated." "It's not complicated. It's theft and assault." "I'll forward this to Detective Ruiz. She handles domestic situations." Domestic situations. As if Rick's ring of manipulation was just another family squabble. Detective Ruiz called 3 hours later. "Ms. Pierce, I've reviewed your case. The video is helpful, but your stepfather claims you gave him permission to use the vehicle. After he hit me and took my keys by force. He says that was a misunderstanding." "That you were being hysterical?" "Watch the video again. Do I look hysterical when he strikes me?" A pause. "I'll need to interview all parties. Can you come in tomorrow at 2 p.m.?" After the call, I drove my rental car to an urgent care clinic. The doctor documented every bruise, took photographs, and provided a detailed medical report. 4 finger marks on my wrist, deep tissue bruising on my shoulder. Evidence Rick couldn't spin. That evening, my work email dinged with a message from HR. We've received some concerning communications about your behavior outside of work. Please schedule a meeting at your earliest convenience. Attached were screenshots of Rick's posts and several anonymous complaints about my family abandonment and ungrateful behavior reflecting poorly on Northwind's values. I forwarded everything to Maya, then opened a new document, Timeline of Theft and Defamation. Every post, every unauthorized action, every system Rick had infiltrated. The Honda app showed my car back at Mom's house. He'd driven 200 miles in one day on my insurance, in my vehicle, building his lie with every mile. My phone rang. Mom. Lauren, honey, Rick's willing to return the car if you just apologize. Write a post explaining you overreacted. He stole from me. He's trying to teach you. What could he possibly teach me except that theft is acceptable if you call it family? Don't be cruel. He loves you. Love doesn't leave bruises. Mom. Silence. Then, you're going to destroy our family over a car. Rick destroyed our family the first time he put his hands on me. You just chose not to see it. I hung up and typed another email to Detective Ruiz, attaching the medical report, the insurance fraud attempt, and the growing list of Rick's public statements. The subject line read, Pattern of Escalating Criminal Behavior. The blue dot on my screen mocked me my car sitting in Rick's driveway, a trophy of his perceived dominance. But Rick had made a crucial error. He'd taken his performance public, left a digital trail of fraud and defamation. Every lie he posted, every system he hacked, every unauthorized use, it all led back to him. Tomorrow, I'd meet with a lawyer. Tonight, I documented everything. Attorney Brooke Ellison's office occupied the 3rd floor of a converted Victorian downtown. She reviewed my documentation with the intensity of someone defusing a bomb. The doorbell video is gold, she said, replaying the assault for the 3rd time. Clear view of his face, audio of the threat, visible force. The medical records corroborate perfectly. Can we get my car back? We're going to do more than that. Brooke pulled out a legal pad. First, we send a demand letter to both Rick and Maple & Sons. The shop had no authority to make keys without ownership verification. They're liable for conversion. She drafted the letter while I watched. Direct. Surgical language vehicle belongs solely to Lauren Pierce. Any modifications or services performed without owner's express written consent constitute conversion and fraud. Return all keys within 24 hours or face immediate legal action. Now, the temporary protection order. Brooke's fingers flew across her keyboard. The assault, the theft, the online harassment it establishes a pattern of domestic violence. He'll say it's just family discipline. The law doesn't recognize family discipline against 29-year-old adults. And this, she pointed to my bruises. This is battery. We filed for an emergency TPO that afternoon. The judge reviewed the video evidence and granted it immediately. Rick would be served within hours, no contact, no coming within 500 feet, and immediate return of all property. Next, Brooke called my insurance company on speaker. This is Attorney Brooke Ellison representing Lauren Pierce. Any addition of Richard Halverson to her policy was fraudulent. Remove him immediately and flag the account for security. The representative stammered through apologies, confirming Rick's removal and adding a verbal password to any future changes. Install a steering wheel lock, Brooke advised. Get an AirTag as backup to the Honda app, and document every mile showing on your odometer when you recover it. Maya met me at a locksmith shop. We bought a club steering lock, a hidden GPS tracker, and a small safe for my apartment to store all vehicle documents. You're building a fortress, she observed. I'm done being vulnerable. That evening, my phone exploded with calls. Rick first blocked by the TPO. He couldn't contact me directly, but the voicemail he'd left before being served was volcanic. You think you're something special? You're nothing without this family. Nothing. I made you who you are." I saved the recording and forwarded it to Brooke. Mom called next, sobbing. "The police came to the house. You had Rick served at his workplace. Do you know how humiliating that was? As humiliating as him posting my personal business across Facebook. He's been put on administrative leave pending the protection order review. You're destroying his career. His actions have consequences. Don't come crying to me when you need help. We're done with you." The line went dead. I felt something crack inside my chest, not my heart breaking, but the last chain of obligation snapping. Brooke texted at 8 p. Maple and Sons responded. They'll release the service records and surrender any duplicate keys. Rick never got the spare they were waiting for ownership verification. Small victory, but I'd take it. The Honda app showed my car moving. I watched the blue dot travel toward downtown, stopping at a storage unit facility. Rick was hiding my property. I screenshot the location and timestamps, sending everything to Detective Ruiz with a note, "Subject violating TPO by maintaining possession of stolen vehicle. Current location attached." At 10:30 p.m., Ruiz called. "We attempted to retrieve your vehicle, but Mr. Halverson claims it's at the shop for repairs. I have GPS showing it's in a storage unit. GPS can be inaccurate, without a warrant. He's violating a protection order. The order says return property. He has 48 hours to comply. If he doesn't, we'll take action." 48 hours. 2 more days of Rick controlling my property, building his narrative, poisoning the community against me. I opened my laptop and began my own campaign. First, a detailed post on my LinkedIn professional, factual, dealing with a family member's theft of my vehicle, grateful for legal systems that protect property rights regardless of family relationships. No names, no drama, but everyone at Northwind would understand. Then I messaged HR. "I'm experiencing stalking and harassment from a family member, including attempts to damage my professional reputation. I have an active protection order and ongoing police investigation. All documentation attached." Finally, I created a new folder, Evidence for Civil Suit. Every mile Rick drove cost me money wear, depreciation, insurance liability. Every defamatory post damaged my reputation. Every hour I spent dealing with this stole from my work productivity. Brooke had mentioned civil court. Once we recover the vehicle, we sue. Conversion, defamation, intentional infliction of emotional distress. Make him pay for every second of this nightmare. The blue dot moved again back toward Mom's house. Rick was getting sloppy, moving the car multiple times in violation of the TPO. Each movement was another crime, another piece of evidence. Maya texted security cameras at your complex. Why, if he knows where you live, he might try something. I hadn't considered that. I contacted building management, requesting footage review and extra patrols. Then I wedged a chair under my doorknob and set 3 different alarms. Sleep didn't come. I watched the blue dot on my phone. My car sitting in Rick's driveway like a beacon of his assumed power. But power built on theft and violence was fragile. Tomorrow, we'd begin dismantling it, piece by legal piece. "We're going to force his hand," Brooke explained, spreading documents across her conference table. "Completely legal, but he won't be able to resist exposing himself." The plan was elegant in its simplicity. Schedule a VIN key code change at Pioneer Motors, a routine service that required all existing keys to be present. The dealership's service bay had cameras, security guards, and was a public space where the TPO could be enforced. "Rick will show up," Brooke predicted. "His ego won't let him lose control without a fight." I called Pioneer Motors. "I need to schedule a key code replacement for my Honda. There are unauthorized duplicates in circulation." "We can do that Thursday at 3 p.m. You'll need to bring all keys and proof of ownership." "Perfect. Also, can you provide the service logs showing who requested key duplication? With a subpoena or owner's request in person?" "Yes." Brooke drafted the notifications. First, a formal email to Rick's lawyer he'd retained someone after being served stating I would be reclaiming my vehicle at Pioneer Motors on Thursday. Any interference would violate the protection order. Then, a courtesy notice to Detective Ruiz about the scheduled recovery, requesting police presence given the active TPO. Finally, an email to Mom and Rick, CCing both lawyers. I will be retrieving my vehicle at Pioneer Motors Thursday at 3 p.m. Per the protection order. Richard Halverson must not be present. The vehicle must be returned with all keys. Now we document everything, Brooke said. Every response, every action. Rick's lawyer responded within hours. Mr. Halverson maintains he was given permission to use the vehicle. He will return it when Ms. Pierce reimburses him for maintenance and storage fees. Storage fees for my stolen car. I laughed bitterly. Brooke fired back, no permission was given. Video evidence shows theft by force. Any fees incurred during unlawful possession are Mr. Halverson's responsibility. Vehicle must be returned immediately. Mom texted that night. Rick says you can have the car if you drop the protection order and apologize publicly. I screenshot it. Attempting to bargain around a protection order, another violation. Wednesday morning, I prepared my evidence kit. Every document laminated and organized title, registration, insurance, purchase agreement, loan documents, the police report, medical records, doorbell video on a USB drive, printouts of every unauthorized action Rick had taken. Maya helped me rehearse. So, what if he shows up anyway? I call 911, reference the TPO, and let officers handle it. What if your mom comes? She's not named in the order, but I don't engage. What if they've damaged the car? Document everything. Add it to the civil suit. The Honda app showed my car had been moved again back to the storage unit. Rick was scrambling, trying to maintain control while avoiding direct violation of the TPO. Thursday arrived gray and cold. Maya drove me to Pioneer Motors at 2:30 p.m., half an hour early. We positioned ourselves where we could see both entrances. Detective Ruiz arrived at 2:45 p.m. Ms. Pierce. Officer Callahan will monitor from his vehicle. If Mr. Halverson appears, don't engage. Understood. At 2:55 p.m., my phone buzzed. The Honda app showed my car heading toward the dealership. He's coming, I told Ruiz. Remain calm. Let's see how this plays out. The service manager met us in the bay. Ms. Pierce, we have your key coding appointment. First, I need those service logs. He produced a printout. There it was. Rick had attempted to get a key made Monday morning, providing Mom's poorly photographed copy of my registration. The technician had started the process before noting ownership discrepancies and stopping. So he never got a spare. No, ma'am, we couldn't verify authorization. My Honda pulled into the service bay. Rick behind the wheel, Mom in the passenger seat. He parked and stepped out, tossing the keys on the driver's seat with theatrical disgust. There's your precious car, he announced loudly, though not directly to me. Ungrateful brat can have it. Detective Ruiz stepped forward. Mr. Halverson, there's an active protection order. You need to leave immediately. I'm returning her property, aren't I? Rick's voice carried across the service bay. Several customers turned to watch. After everything I've done for her. Raised her, provided for her, and this is the thanks I get. Sir, leave now or face arrest. Rick walked toward the exit, then turned back, looking straight at me. You should thank me. The same words, the same tone, but now they were being recorded by multiple cameras. For what? I found my voice. For stealing from me, for assault. He took a step toward me. Officer Callahan moved from his position. For teaching you that family means nothing to you. Rick snarled. You're nothing without Mr. Halverson. Ruiz's hand moved to her radio. One more step violates the protection order. The service bay fell silent except for the distant hum of machinery. Rick's face contorted, caught between rage and the reality of consequences. Mom finally spoke. Lauren, please, just let this go. Let what go? My property, my dignity, my right to exist without being controlled. We're your family. No, family doesn't steal. Family doesn't hit. Family doesn't publicly humiliate you for establishing boundaries. Rick's hands clenched into fists. For a moment, I thought he'd lunge anyway. Then he turned and stalked toward the exit. "This isn't over," he said to the air. "Actually, it is," Brooke said, appearing from behind a service desk where she'd been documenting everything. "That's witness intimidation. Add it to the list. Detective." As Rick's truck peeled out of the lot, I approached my Honda. The interior reeked of cigarette smoke. Rick's calling card. Fast food wrappers littered the floor. The odometer showed 387 extra miles. But it was mine again. The service manager began the key recoding process. "We'll wipe all existing codes, create new ones. Only these 2 keys will work." I handed over both keys from the driver's seat, watching as the machine reset my car's electronic brain. Every access point Rick had created was being erased, line by line. The Pioneer Motors service bay had become a stage, and Rick couldn't resist the spotlight. "I need my belongings from that vehicle," he announced, striding back through the entrance despite Ruiz's warnings. "My phone charger, my papers." "Mr. Halverson, you were told to leave." Detective Ruiz moved to intercept him. "I have property in there, unless she wants to add theft to her false accusations." The service manager looked uncomfortable. "Perhaps we could retrieve any items. I'll get them myself." Rick pushed past, reaching for my Honda's door handle. I held up my phone, already recording. "Everything's being documented. Rick." "Good. Document this." He yanked open the door, making a show of searching the glove compartment, center console, even under the seats. "Where's my garage door opener?" "My sunglasses." "You mean my garage door opener that you took?" I kept my voice steady, professional. The technicians had stopped working, all eyes on our confrontation. Rick pulled out a crumpled receipt, waving it like evidence. "This is from my credit card. Proves I've been maintaining this vehicle." Brooke stepped forward. "That's a gas receipt from a card under Ms. Pierce's account. You just admitted to credit fraud." His face went purple. "You little, choose your next words carefully." Ruiz warned. "Multiple witnesses present." Rick's control snapped. He slammed his palm on the Honda's hood hard enough that the sound echoed through the bay. "After everything I've done, I bought her textbooks. I kept a roof over her head. With my mother's money," I said quietly. "Which she earned." "Your mother agrees with me. Tell them. Denise." Mom stood frozen by the waiting area, wringing her hands. Rick, please, let's just go. Tell them." His voice cracked with desperation. "Tell them how ungrateful she is, how she abandoned us the second she got successful." "I didn't abandon anyone. I escaped." The word hung in the air like an accusation. Rick's jaw clenched. "You want to play victim?" He reached into his pocket, pulling out his phone. "I have texts, years of her mother begging her to help with bills, and this selfish Mr. Halverson." Officer Callahan had entered the bay. "Step away from the vehicle. Now." "I'm getting my property. The only property here belongs to Ms. Pierce." Callahan positioned himself between Rick and my car. "You're in violation of an active protection order." "This is bullshit!" Rick's voice boomed. "She assaults me, steals my belongings, and I'm the criminal." The service manager discreetly pointed to the security camera. "Sir, everything in this bay is being recorded." Rick followed his gesture, seeing the multiple cameras for the first time. His bravado flickered. "Those cameras," Brooke said clearly, "captured you admitting to using Ms. Pierce's credit cards without authorization. They show you striking her vehicle in anger. They document your violation of a legal protection order." "And," I added, finding strength in the witnesses surrounding us, "they recorded you saying the exact same words you said while assaulting me. You should thank me." Rick's eyes darted around the bay technicians, customers, security cameras, officers. The audience he'd wanted had become a trap. "This is a setup." His voice dropped to a growl. "You planned this. I planned to get my car recoded safely. You chose to show up." He stepped toward me, finger pointing. You think you're smart? You think that fancy job makes you better than... His forward motion was his mistake. Officer Callahan moved swiftly, professionally. Hands behind your back. What you can't. Violation of protection order, disturbing the peace, attempted intimidation. Callahan listed the charges while applying handcuffs. You have the right to remain silent. Denise! Rick shouted as he was led away. Call my lawyer. Tell him this is entrapment. Mom finally moved, tears streaming. Lauren, how could you? How could I protect myself? He's going to lose his job. We'll lose the house. His choices, his consequences. She looked at me like I was a stranger. I don't know you anymore. You never did. The service manager cleared his throat. Ms. Pierce, we've completed the key recoding. Here are your new keys, the only two that will operate your vehicle. I took them, feeling their weight. Clean keys, no history, no hidden copies. We also have this. He handed me a printed log. Complete service history from our system. Shows Mr. Halverson attempted to add himself as an authorized user on your account. We declined without proper documentation. More evidence. I thanked him and walked to my Honda. The cigarette smell would need professional cleaning. The fast food debris would take hours to clear. But it was mine. Lauren. Detective Ruiz approached with a tablet. I need your statement about what just occurred. I provided every detail Rick's return despite the order, his admissions about the credit cards, the threatening approach that prompted his arrest. She nodded, taking notes. The cameras will corroborate everything. This strengthens your case significantly. As I drove away in my reclaimed Honda, I saw Mom in the parking lot on her phone, probably calling Rick's lawyer. She didn't look up as I passed. The blue dot on my phone now moved with me, under my control. I headed to a detailing shop to purge Rick's presence from my car, then to a secure parking garage I'd rented downtown. My phone buzzed with messages from witnesses at the dealership, employees who'd seen everything, customers who'd recorded video. The truth had played out in public. Impossible to spin. Rick had wanted an audience for his performance of the wronged father figure. Instead, he'd given me witnesses to his crimes. The courtroom smelled like old paper and floor wax. Rick sat at the defendant's table, his lawyer whispering urgently while Rick's jaw worked like he was chewing glass. Your Honor, Brooke began, connecting her laptop to the courtroom's display system. We have video evidence from multiple sources showing clear violation of the temporary protection order. The Pioneer Motors footage played on the screen. Rick striking my car's hood. His aggressive approach. The admission about using my credit cards. Every word crystal clear through the dealership's audio system. Additionally, Brooke continued, we have doorbell camera footage of the initial assault. The video showed everything: Rick grabbing my wrist, striking my shoulder, taking my keys. His words echoed through the courtroom. You should thank me. Rick's lawyer stood. Your Honor, this is a family disagreement blown out of proportion. Mr. Halverson was attempting to teach what, counselor? The judge cut him off. How to commit assault, theft, credit fraud. He was returning the vehicle when arrested. After holding it for 3 days, after being ordered to return it immediately, the judge turned to Rick. Mr. Halverson, do you have anything to say? Rick stood slowly. Your Honor, I raised this girl. Her mother and I provided. Ms. Pierce is 29 years old. The judge interrupted. Did you strike her? I was disciplining. Yes or no? Did you strike her? Rick's silence was answer enough. Did you take her car keys without permission? She was being disrespectful. Yes or no? Yes, but no buts. The judge's gavel struck once. I'm granting a 2-year protection order. Mr. Halverson, you are prohibited from any contact with Ms. Pierce. No calls, texts, emails, social media contact, or third-party communication. You may not come within 1,000 feet of her person, residence, or workplace. Your Honor, Brooke added, there's also the matter of online defamation. Mr. Halverson's social media posts have caused professional harm to my client. The judge reviewed the screenshots Rick's Facebook rants, the community group posts, The orchestrated harassment campaign. Mr. Halverson, you are ordered to remove all posts mentioning Ms. Pierce within 24 hours. Any further online harassment will result in criminal charges. Mom, sitting in the gallery, let out a soft sob. Mrs. Halverson, the judge addressed her directly. You're not named in this order, but I strongly advise you to consider your role in enabling this behavior. Protecting an abuser makes you complicit. Mom's face crumpled, but she said nothing. Now, the judge continued, regarding the criminal charges. The prosecutor stood. Your Honor, the state has filed charges for assault, theft of property over $1,000, violation of a protection order, and attempted credit fraud. Mr. Halverson, how do you plead? Rick's lawyer whispered urgently. Rick shook his head, then stood. Not guilty. Trial date set for 6 weeks. The judge's gavel fell again. Bail set at $10,000. Mr. Halverson, I strongly suggest you comply with all orders. Any violation will result in immediate incarceration. As court security led Rick away for processing, he turned to stare at me. No words, the protection order prevented that, but his eyes promised retribution. Outside the courthouse, Brooke walked me through next steps. Now we file the civil suit, conversion, trespass to chattels, intentional infliction of emotional distress, defamation per se. How much do we sue for? Every penny of damage, mileage depreciation, cleaning costs, lost wages from dealing with this, therapy bills, legal fees, plus punitive damages for the malicious conduct. My phone buzzed with an email from Northwind's HR director. Following our investigation, we've found no merit to the anonymous complaints. Your professional standing remains exemplary. We've also implemented additional security protocols per your request. Another message from Maya. Maple & Sons just called. They're sending a formal apology and a check for a full detail service. They don't want liability. The civil filing went in that afternoon. Brooke had calculated damages meticulously. $3,000 for the car's depreciation and damage, $1,500 for legal fees so far, $800 in lost wages, $600 for therapy sessions I'd need, $5,000 in punitive damages for defamation. Conservative estimate, she said. Could go higher at trial. Rick's lawyer called within hours. My client is willing to discuss settlement. No settlement that doesn't include a full written apology and admission of fault. Brooke replied, That's not going to happen. Then we'll see you in civil court. That evening, I sat in my newly detailed Honda, breathing in the smell of clean leather instead of cigarettes. The steering wheel lock was engaged, the GPS tracker active, all documents secured in my apartment safe. My phone rang an unknown number. I let it go to voicemail. Mom's voice, broken. Lauren, Rick made bail. We had to use the house as collateral. I hope you're happy. You've destroyed everything. I deleted it and blocked the number. Another call. This one from Detective Ruiz. Ms. Pierce wanted to update you. We've added harassment and witness intimidation charges based on the dealership incident. The prosecutor feels confident about conviction. What about jail time? With his clean record, probably probation for the misdemeanors, but violating probation means immediate incarceration. He'll be walking on eggshells for years. As I drove home, I passed Mom's neighborhood. Part of me wanted to feel guilty about Rick's arrest, Mom's tears, the family explosion, but all I felt was free. At my apartment, a package waited, a new Ring doorbell camera, gift from Maya. The note read, For the Fortress. No one takes your keys again. I installed it immediately, then added a door brace for good measure. Rick might be out on bail, but he'd learned that his manufactured reality couldn't survive contact with the actual legal system. The protection order was just paper, but it represented something more, the system finally seeing through the family excuse to the abuse beneath. The final court date arrived 6 weeks later. Rick had tried every angle, claiming mental distress, demanding a jury trial, even attempting to file a restraining order against me. All denied. Now he sat in the defendant's chair as the judge read the verdict. On the count of assault guilty, theft of property guilty, violation of protection order guilty, credit fraud guilty. Each word hit Rick like a physical blow. His lawyer had negotiated a plea deal, 2 years probation, mandatory anger management classes, 200 hours of community service, and full restitution for damages. Mr. Halverson, the judge addressed him directly. You will also surrender any copies of keys, access codes, or documents related to Ms. Pierce's property. This will be done today, in this courtroom, under supervision. A bailiff brought in a metal box. Rick's lawyer produced a manila envelope. Inside were 2 key fobs he'd had made before I changed the codes. Worthless now, but evidence of his intent. Printouts of my insurance information. Even a photo of my car's VIN number. Is this everything? The judge asked. Rick nodded sullenly. Verbal answer, please. Yes. Good. These items will be destroyed. The judge turned to me. Ms. Pierce, do you have anything to say? I stood, my single recoded key in my hand. Your Honor, Rick always said I should thank him. So I will. Thank you. Rick, for teaching me that family isn't about blood or marriage certificates. It's about respect. Thank you for showing me that boundaries aren't suggestions, they're requirements. And thank you for proving that the law applies to everyone, even those who think they're above it. Rick's face turned purple, but he couldn't speak. The protection order silenced him. The judge nodded. Mr. Halverson, I want you to understand something. Ms. Pierce owes you nothing, not gratitude, not obedience, not access to her life. The phrase, you should thank me, that you seem so fond of. The only person here who should be thankful is you, thankful that Ms. Pierce chose legal channels instead of other forms of retaliation. She picked up the metal box containing Rick's copied keys. Bailiff, please escort Mr. Halverson to the courthouse basement where these items will be destroyed in the industrial shredder. Mr. Halverson will watch to understand the finality of this judgment. The symbolism wasn't lost on anyone. Rick was being forced to watch the physical destruction of his control. As Rick was led away, he broke protocol, turning to shout, "This isn't over. You can't." "That's a violation of the protection order," the judge said calmly. "Bailiff, add that to the record. Mr. Halverson just earned himself 48 hours in county jail for contempt." The look of shock on Rick's face as handcuffs clicked around his wrists was worth every dollar in legal fees. In the basement, we gathered around the industrial shredder, the judge, Brooke, Detective Ruiz, and me. Rick stood in handcuffs between 2 bailiffs, forced to watch as each key was fed into the machine. The metal screamed as it was torn apart, fragments dropping into a secure disposal bin. The printouts followed, shredded into confetti. Even the photo of my vine was destroyed. "Mr. Halverson," the judge said as the last piece disappeared, "let this be crystal clear. You have no claim to Ms. Pierce's property, her life, or her future. Any attempt to reassert control will result in immediate incarceration. Do you understand?" "Yes." Rick spat. "Yes." "What?" "Yes, Your Honor." "Good. Take him to holding." As they led him away, Rick tried one last manipulation. "Denise needs me. The house. Your wife can speak for herself." The judge interrupted. "Or had you forgotten she's a separate person too? Mom hadn't attended this hearing. She'd filed for divorce 2 weeks after Rick's arrest, finally seeing what everyone else had always known. Outside the courthouse, I stood in the afternoon sun, holding my single key. It caught the light clean, uncopied, entirely mine. "How does it feel?" Brooke asked. "Like I can breathe." Detective Ruiz shook my hand. "You did everything right, Ms. Pierce. Documentation, proper channels, staying calm. You built an ironclad case." "What happens if he violates probation?" "Immediate arrest, minimum 6 months in jail." "The system will be watching him closely." That evening, I met Maya for dinner. She raised her wine glass. "To boundaries with teeth." "To locks that actually lock," I countered. "To keys that can't be copied." We clinked glasses, and I felt the last weight lift from my shoulders. My Honda sat outside, secured with the club, tracked by GPS, insured only in my name. The title and registration were locked in my safe, along with the court orders and the video evidence I'd probably keep forever proof that I'd stood up to a bully and won. My phone had been quiet for days. No flying monkeys, no guilt trips, no demands disguised as family obligation. Just peaceful silence. As I drove home that night, I passed Pioneer Motors. The service bay where everything had exploded was just another workspace now. Mechanics finishing their shifts. Normal people living normal lives where car keys were simply car keys, not weapons of control. I pulled into my apartment's secure garage, engaged the steering lock, checked the GPS tracker, and walked to my apartment. The Ring doorbell blinked reassuringly as I unlocked my door, just one key on my Ring now, but it was the only one that mattered. Inside, on my coffee table, sat the court order and the newspaper clipping about Rick's conviction. I'd framed them not out of spite, but as a reminder. Sometimes the greatest revenge isn't dramatic or violent. Sometimes it's just refusing to let someone take what's yours and making them face the consequences of trying. Rick had demanded I thank him. In the end, the only thing he'd taught me was that I didn't need his permission to own my own life. The key to my Honda hung on its hook by the door singular, unduplicated, and completely mine. Thank you so much for listening to my story. I'd love to know where you're tuning in from. Drop a comment below and let's connect. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and share your own thoughts or experiences in the comments. Your support means everything, and I can't wait to hear from you all.